Fractal, our 70-second meeting. I'm here with Eric and Rosmari and Lisa and Space Ranger Joe and Tadas and Terry. We've been having some really exciting conversations, and we're a little past the up to hour, so we're just going to jump straight to the presentation, I think, and then go into breakout rooms and play some respect game. Hope that everybody is having a fantastic day. If anybody here wants to say hello, of course, feel free, or feel free to share some thoughts. Thanks all for being here, and thanks for watching. Hope you all enjoy. So welcome, EdenFractal.com, where you can learn about Eden Fractal and our welcome guide working on EdenFractal.com/welcome. You can check out t.me/EdenFractal to interact with the group and see Rosmari posting each week the notification and new episodes and the videos and the RSVP link and stuff. I encourage you all to check it out, join the group, interact with the community, invite friends, also sign up on Luma too, so that you can get weekly email reminders and learn more. We're doing some really exciting stuff here, and it'd be great to meet more people and introduce them to all the cool stuff we're doing. You can also check out edenfractal.com/videos to see show notes and the full videos from recent episodes like Regeneration Nation and Optimism Fractal and so forth. We're getting some really cool stuff going on here. We just released Regeneration Nation, where we talked about the best ways to build a more regenerative society, and we talked about Optimism Fractal and Retro PGF, all sorts of really cool stuff here. There's really detailed show notes here that Rosmari's working hard on, and so I encourage you to check out the video and the text to learn more about all the cool things that we're up to, or some of the cool things. There's so much more as well. You can also check out the Eden Cares YouTube channel, of course, to watch these and subscribe. And then anyway, we're going to go into the breakout rooms and play the respect game, and you know how that works. Or if not, you can learn more on the website. And then after, we're going to play cagendas, and those are going to be the topics on the agenda that we decided to be cagendas. So far, there's just one topic on the agenda, I think. This is about the Tadas game that we've been playing for the past 10 weeks or so. In previous weeks, I gave like an overview of how this works and stuff like that, but you can watch the previous videos to learn more. I think everybody here at this point knows. So if you don't know how this works, then feel free to reach out for questions in the Telegram chat. So yeah, I put up this topic here and I voted for it. If anyone else wants to put up a topic on consortium, feel free. But otherwise, the topics that are proposed are, well, this topics game, and I put up about 6 topics here or so. There's one overview here where it shows how this topics game works if you want to learn more and how we started doing this. I wanted to announce the first Optimism Fractal event. We're still not totally sure what the time is, but we're planning on doing it on Friday. This Friday in a couple days, probably at around 15 or 16 UTC. Possibly could be Monday, but most likely Friday. I put together an article, edencraze.com/Optimism Fractal, and we have a Twitter account now where you can learn more, and we'll share more updates soon. We also might talk about using OP Fractal tools in Eden Fractal, and the Retro PGF applications closing on October 23rd. More optimism opportunities, pomelo opportunities, open mic night. Eric is hosting a open mic night right after the Eden Fractal meeting, or at the end of the Eden Fractal meeting at 18 UTC today. So encourage people to perform and share what you're doing. And then we also have maybe public goods pitch sessions, talk about EVM tools and new Fractal app. Maybe we'll see. You can check out these sites. I'll present them later. I just want to give a high-level overview, though, and encourage people to check it out. Anyway, that is it for the presentation for right now. We're going to play some respect game, or also known as Eden plus Fractal. So I will stop the screen share and hope you all enjoyed the presentation. And we're going to the breakout rooms now. Unless anybody has any thoughts, then of course feel free to share. Hey everyone.
Hello, Dan. Mr. Space Wrangler.
Hello there.
Master of Ceremonies today, a little later today, Eric. Will you be the Master of Ceremonies, or will someone else?
I am planning to, unless somebody else wants to do it. I've certainly done my share of hosting and panels and things. I think the largest panel I've ever done was in front of about 10,000 people.
Oh, God. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Big panel.
Yeah.
I was watching some of your videos recently on YouTube, Eric. I've watched about half of the AI tutorial that Joe shared. It came out like a month ago, but I've been watching a little bit here and there, and it's awesome so far. I just haven't watched the whole thing, but thanks so much for doing that. And then Eric, I also watched because I searched your name on YouTube and I saw some of the videos that you did with startups in San Diego and interviews and stuff. So I was watching some of those recently. It was cool.
If you watch the highlight reel from that kind of the deal, that was when I didn't know I was going to be a host.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I booked. I grew our company 300% a year, and signed an agreement with Panasonic by getting our story right. And I figured, well, if we had this problem getting our story right, others must have that problem. So I'll help them. So I got sponsors to build a TV studio at Startup Incubator during Startup Week. And by the way, it's Startup Week next week here in San Diego. I have my free ticket for that. So I got the best interviewers known to mankind and the best guests, the mayor, government, industry, academia, non-government, big companies, cool tech companies. And one by one, my interviewers all dropped out. The last one 10 minutes before the first interview. So I'm trying to call, where are you? Where are you? And they're like, hey, sorry, I'm on my way to the airport, can't make it. I'm like, what? So next thing you know, Jeff Horvath is saying, sit here. And I go, what are you doing, Jeff? He goes, I'm miking you up. Well, why? Well, you're the host. I go, I'm not the host. So if you're looking at some of those first ones on there, you know, I'm sitting there and there's a guy in the chair next to me that I booked and he's drinking some water. He turns to me, so how many years you been doing this? I said, oh, about 10 minutes. And we did our first interview. So by the end of the week, we had 40 interviews and 3 TV shows actually running from that on TV. So that's how I accidentally became a TV host. So you can see that.
Wow.
Cool. Well, thanks for sharing the story, Eric. I had no idea. And I watched several of them and it looked like you're very professional. So I suppose you learned it pretty quickly.
Well, you can see that like there's a camera spinning around with me in the chair. If you look at that highlight reel, you know, it just comes by. And I turn and I smile. That's my exterior appearance. And the interior, I'm going, holy crap. Did I get stuck into this? But as you can see, those aren't even all the videos that are still on there and things I've done. So I did TV, radio, podcast, on stage. So after that, it kind of got me hooked up. So I literally interviewed hundreds of entrepreneurs and leaders and things like that. Bottom line is, it's not going to freak me out to host anything.
Okay, cool. Well, yeah, you've done a great job hosting the other events we've attended and participated in, like the Art Fractal, and we co-hosted kind of the former open mic night, and you hosting the AI tutorial was awesome. So I'm excited to see you host more, Eric. I'm excited for the event.
I'm still seeing a therapist for viewing my own FaceTime. So I've got a long way to go before I get I'm kidding. But I have to say that I've always been uncomfortable with my own image. So this whole Zoom experience that I started here with you guys and continued on in Eden is good for me, I think. I'm getting to see my own
image and voice, no. So I just had to get into the mindset that said, this is not for me. It's not, it doesn't matter what I think. It's not for me. It's about the people on the other side. So what can I do to maximize that? And I just tried to give up caring. But yeah, I'm the same way. I especially my voice, when I listen to it, I go, oh my God, who's that?
That's exactly how I feel. Oh my God.
How can anybody listen to that? But yeah, they do, and they actually seem to like it. I got lots of compliments. So, and I still get that. The other day I was at an event, somebody's going, "Do I know you? Do I know you?"
Cool.
Well, who's going first today?
Good question. Who wants to go first?
I'm happy to start it off. Unless somebody else wants to, I have no problem. It's kind of the same story that I've had the last few weeks. I'm pushing forward with my next version of DNews, my AI infused DNews. I've made that part of it public, artificially infused throughout DNews. And then I'm also, of course, attending, at this point, every Eden meeting that is made. I'm trying to do it, and so far I'm continuing to do that. And of course, last week we found out that a number of us were elected chief delegates, kind of on a fluke. So now I'm a chief delegate, and I'm attending those meetings as well. Something very interesting has just happened. I will report that. Something very good, actually. Chief Delegate Sun Young from Korea, from EOS support, was, of course, through sortition, elected the chief delegate. He was elected the chief delegate for the group, and he decided that he didn't want all of the responsibilities, so he delegated the moderation and some of the other positions, some of the other privileges, to some of the other chief delegates. And those chief delegates, some of those chief delegates may have done, through my perspective, participated in a little bit of censorship, a little bit or a lot, could be, and that could have been a problem. However, Sun Yong has decided that there will be no censorship. So it is a huge, that one step, he is now enforcing no censorship in these Eden meetings. The lights have been turned on. That one simple step has changed everything. Now, it hasn't, I don't think it's changed the trajectory of those in power, those in charge, but it has changed the dynamics of the meeting extremely. So Sun Young is defending the honor of Eden on EOS. I guess that's the news. In one of these final terms, if this is a final term, and it appears to be one of the final terms of Eden on EOS. So if you are a member of Eden on EOS, I would encourage you to visit and enjoy the new censorship-free environment. That's my share. Yeah, that's it. Okay. In my left corner, my top left, is Eric. Eric, you're up.
So the interplanetary unconference is dominating this. So how do we move this idea of governance and what we do through there? So I'm trying to alternate events that are fun and events that are meaningful, because you use fun to attract people, and then if they get it, you teach them. That you can, after you get them, you can teach them something. So of course, we have the open mic night this Wednesday. The next Wednesday, we're going to teach them something with fractal palooza. Wednesday after that, we're going to have fun. Joe hopefully will take us on a trip through our 3D space, and hopefully, Joe, you saw my notes and posts about Wiza and the stuff that he's trying to do. He tried to put the interplanetary unconference building, but the interplanetary unconference is happening in the Center for Governance. So hopefully, Joe, you and Beanie can get together and decide what to do for that. And then we have other cool events of the week. And hopefully Perry, if he gets ready to launch his AI and it's in time with the unconference, we'll set up a governance channel, and that will be one of the Wednesdays would be the launch of the government D-News, governance D-News channel. So think about that. Other than that, I have to document what we're doing and prove to the real world that we can really do that. So I met with my methodologist that the university assigned to me. And he says what we want to do is possible, and we can measure it well, and it'll be well respected, and then gave me a whole bunch of extra work to do and stuff to look up, of course. why not? And so other than that, continuing to work on my dissertation now, mostly done with chapter 1, chapter 2, probably 80% through, and with the methodologists we start on chapter 3, probably 25% through that. And other than that, just meeting with nonprofits as potential ways to collect data. And one of the profits I met with was Startup San Diego. So it's interesting that you were watching those videos. So had a long and useful chat with the executive director with the idea of adding fractal governance within Startup San Diego, which is a nonprofit, by the way. And because of that, they gave me a free ticket for Startup Week next week to go talk about that. And by the way, I was originally one of the ones that helped grow Startup Week. The first Startup Week we had was 60 people, and right before the pandemic, we had 3,000 people show up from all over the world, by the way. So with that, we've been writing up proposals with Lisa. So spending a lot of time with Lisa on an interplanetary conference governance perspective. So with that, I'll turn that over to Joe.
All right, I just sent you a message about the Wizapizza stuff, and just to get some more clarification on that, it's all just Telegram
They're
groups.
making some stuff. Beanie's making some stuff. He's making some stuff. All three
Cool.
of you going to ought to just talk about stuff, because that's where I'm seeing and just say, how can we coordinate these efforts in building the Center for Governance?
Very cool. Yeah, is that maybe you can send me a link in the personal thing to where I remember seeing it, but again, these Telegram groups are just getting...
Yeah, I will. It's in the eyeke governance.
Okay.
Right there, and I put his plans for what he was making and this, and it sounds exactly what we're trying to make. So
perfect. Okay, great.
And
yeah.
by the way, after you get your 3D, the idea is to figure out how to have a governance trivia contest within the spatial version by putting questions all over.
All right. So so busy week. I've been a little bit under the weather. I was in a meeting yesterday with the aquadac and got some good information. Had a few different phone calls and meetings with different people about the interplanetary unconference, the hackathon, grants, been helping out writing some, formulating others, and trying to wrap up one today. Like a dual hackathon and galactic hubs thing, get it out. So hopefully I can get that done today. And I've got also coming up tomorrow at 6 p.m. I have our first official trivia with the Upland Aliens, which is a new fractal group made of Upland players and Alien Worlds players. And so we're trying to get that together. It's not always easy starting something up, as I'm sure all you guys are aware. So we're hoping to just get people to show up at 6 today. At 6 tomorrow. We are going to give out a decent amount of Trillium and UPX, which is the in-game token for Upland game. And there are going to be questions about the UI. So, I know certain people here, like Perry had mentioned some sort of an interest in Alien Worlds, but it's like a lot to figure out just where to click and how to deal with the UI and how do you actually, what is this thing? And so that's kind of what we're doing with our trivia, is we're asking 10 questions about how to operate through the UI, which most of the players from each of the games are very familiar with, so they will most likely win the prize, but the other people can, from the other game, can kind of learn how the other game's UI works. And so both players from both groups can learn how the UI works, how the games work, and get a better understanding of both. That's the plan with that. And yeah, I can't think of anything else right now. That's about it. Oh, well, Eric talked about some of the design stuff I'm doing too, so I won't touch on that. But yeah, that's about it for me. And then that leaves Mr. Amazing Dan.
Thank you, Mr. Amazing Space Wrangler. I appreciate it, and I'm really excited to hear all your work, all your updates with the Upland aliens, and work with aquadac and all the cool stuff you're doing, as well as Perry and Eric. So thanks so much, Joe, and thanks so much, everybody. And I'll get into sharing what I've been doing to help. All right, so Eden Fractal. What I've been doing to help Eden Fractal. Well, main thing I've been working on this week has been Optimism Fractal, and also a new brand for optimism focused stuff called Optimistics. Doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes that I've been saying this past few weeks. I'm doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes, but I can finally start sharing some of it now. I'm kind of like Perry, always working behind the scenes, or often doing so. And then I think next week there'll be a lot more to share, but this week I can share some stuff, work in progress. So I did just this morning finish, at least finish to a acceptable state, an article about Optimism Fractal at edencares.com/Optimism Fractal. I've been working on this for, I don't know, some weeks, but now it's finally at a point where I'm going to share it with the community leader in Optimism, so I wanted to make sure it's like pretty good. So it has a little overview of our collaborations in previous videos and an overview of what we're doing here. There's some artwork that I've been working with Rosmari. Rosmari's been doing it, mostly I've just been providing some feedback and helping to refine and stuff like that, but it's looking really cool. And she also made a logo for Optimism Fractal, which is kind of playing with the idea of retro PGF and the sunny, but also a sunflower can go into that. I had written some stuff about Optimism Fractal here. I'm going to continue refining this, but it's kind of like just a brief introduction to Optimism Fractal that I can share the link to, and we can go over more links and stuff to a lot of our previous meetings and our proposal and our discussions and synergies with Optimism, and also the tools that Tadas and Vlad are building, and a little bit more, along with some cool art that Rosmari made. And then it also links to the most recent meetings, or like 4 or 5 different meetings where we discussed Eden Fractal, and we made show notes for them or we discussed Optimism Fractal and Optimism at Eden Fractal. So it includes all these. Maybe I'll zoom out a little bit because right now it's kind of difficult to see it all. The zoom always kind of messes up with the website. But I showed these before, but basically just curating them all in one spot so people can see all the cool stuff we're doing. And then with a little introduction to Optimism. So this is something that I can now use to share Optimism Fractal with people in the Optimism community, and like kind of introduce them to what we're doing in the community in a fairly succinct way. I still haven't applied for retro PGF. The due date for that is Monday, in like 5 days from now. So I'm working hard with Vlad and Tadas and Rosmari to just get this proposal out there, or our application out there for that. And I've been doing a lot of research on how that works. We started launching an Optimism Fractal website at optimismfractal.com. It's still kind of messy right now. And it's still very messy right now, but you can kind of see some of the basic drafts that we're putting together, like trying to just keep it very simple and focus on how we can help the optimism community, and especially for an audience of people who don't yet understand optimism. One of the things that we have currently, I just scrolled down, we wanted to distribute OP, but we're trying to figure out how to do that in a way that works with their KYC requirements, stuff like that, with our grant. So we're not sure how that works yet, but that's one thing I've been working on a lot, just figuring out how that could potentially work. As well as I've been working on creating an Optimistics website as well. Please don't share these, by the way, like publicly. I'm just sharing this here in the video because they're not quite ready to share, and some parts I still haven't gone through with different people and see if it's all cool with them. But working on like just curating a website and like organizing products that we've been making and stuff like that. And yeah, there's lots of really cool stuff here, but I'll share more of it later when it's done because it's really early stages right now. But one thing I'll show you for now is just For example, optimistics.io/tools. I've been curating a lot of the tools that Tadas and Vlad and many other community members have been building. So I just wrote up some like pretty quick stuff here, trying to put it together, but trying to bring it all in one spot. And then I figured out how to like organize the website better, so you can go to like see more details of the tools and a lot of stuff that I've written previously about these different tools. Like for example, Fractogram. You can go and there's articles here from the Eden Creators website, but just putting on the Optimistics website so people can see it more easily and understand how it helps optimism in a more clear way without having to learn about all the other stuff from Eden. Also, I joined the Optimism community call yesterday, and I left a message to the host. These happen every Tuesday, every other Tuesday, so I encourage you to join if you're interested in optimism and want to learn about it. There's also a lot of recordings that you can listen to of these, and I messaged the host saying that I really appreciate his work. He has a bunch of podcasts, and I asked some questions about KYC in particular. That's what I was mentioning before, because we're trying to figure out a way that we could have it where people could earn OP by joining Eden Fractal and Optimism Fractal meetings, but there's some like legal requirements that we're trying to figure out how we could do it. So I asked a question about that, and then I wound up also, while we discussed that, I introduced Optimism Fractal to the Optimism community. I said it's coming up soon, and then the host linked it in the community recaps thread. This is Michael, by the way. I'm calling him the host, but yeah, he's a really cool guy, and he linked it there, so you can watch there. And I got quite a positive reaction. There was like 6 people gave hearts, and they said they're really excited to learn more. So yeah, the video will be I have it, but it'll be uploaded soon. I also have this open too, which is one of the tools that we're trying to use to distribute funds and stuff, but I don't know if that's going to work or how that's going to work yet. So that's just kind of what I've been working on, trying to figure out how that could work. And then also I just put together the topics. A lot of the stuff is just previous topics that we had in previous weeks, but just brought them back up in case they're helpful. But I did do a little bit extra work just to like curate it with some new links and pictures and stuff like that, so that we could discuss it further during the meeting. So that is that for now, and I will stop my screen share. Thanks for listening. Hope you all have been enjoying it so far. Does anybody have any questions or comments for anybody? Or should we go into Fractogram?
Question for Eric. I've been out of California for quite a few years. I think like 6 years now since I visited California. Is having a methodologist kind of like having a therapist?
No,
No? Okay, what is it? What is a methodologist?
methodologist verifies that what you're going to do to collect and analyze data will hold up under any scrutiny. Is your sample size big enough? Are you using the right test? Are you protecting people's data? Are you using blind data if it's appropriate? Things
Scientific method.
yeah,
Scientific.
think of it as a statistician, so almost.
Okay, got it. That's all for me.
Cool. I just created a Fractogram group, and I invited Perry and Eric. I had a difficulty inviting Joe, so I'll paste the link to the Fractogram group in the Zoom chat.
Yep, I am there.
Okay, cool. Does anybody else have any other questions or comments for anybody before we go into consensus? If so, feel free. I'll also put up the account prompt so we can get that going. I see that Tadas, he updated the Fractogram, so now it has Optimism on there, which is cool.
Oh, cool.
Thanks for doing good, Joe. Putting up the. Is that actually a movie coming out, or is that it's probably just a meme, right? That's not actually coming out with Sam Bankman-Fried throwing money with FTX.
Yeah, that's parody.
Okay, I think that'd be pretty ridiculous if Disney was actually making that.
Well, now you have to make it.
I mean, it'll probably come out with AI pretty soon.
Just not by Disney. You have to make it in.
Yeah. Okay. It looks like we have everybody in. Everybody gave their accounts. So I will bring up the consensus for level 6. You can now vote to say who you think should be level 6.
Where did that come from? That picture? Did you make that, Joe? Joe, did you make that FTX picture?
No, I didn't. I got that from somebody else. I did make one of Jerome Powell burning some money that's animated though.
I saw that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. It looks like you have a thing for burning money, Joe.
Well, the SBF trial is going on right now. So I just happened to grab that, and it was like the first thing when I opened my phone.
Okay. Yeah, I followed the FTX story a lot back in November when it was happening, but I haven't seen what's going on in the trial much. But well, burning money. That's one way that's something that happened basically. I'm checking Fractogram on my phone. I don't know if we have consensus. It looks like just 2 people voted so far. Joe and Perry, if you want to vote, or if you have any other questions
Okay.
first.
I lost track, and there we go.
Okay.
Okay, voted. Excellent.
All right, we're all split up.
All right.
Oh, good God, what has happened?
Prepare for a showdown.
Yeah, that's funny.
That is
Alright.
pretty funny. I don't think I've ever seen that before.
Yeah. So I voted for Joe. Eric voted for Perry. Space Ringo Joe voted for Eric, and Perry voted for me. Does anybody want to explain their reasoning? I'm happy to go first, or if anyone else wants to go.
Go for it.
Okay. Well, yeah, I voted for Joe. I mean, everybody's doing really great work, so I think everybody deserves a lot of respect, and I really appreciate both what you're doing, Perry and Eric, very much, of course. But I voted for Joe, partially because I think maybe Joe hasn't got as much respect as he deserves for what he's doing with both aquadac and the upland aliens, and also in his leadership role in Eden Fractal. I know Joe joined Eden Fractal fairly late, like I guess it was like week 35 or so. So came a little bit late, and then I saw like Joe's gotten like level 5 and 6 here and there, I think, but I don't know. I was looking at the scores for previous week, and I saw sometimes Joe was like 1 or 2, even though he started this awesome fractal. He's making awesome art, and he's helping like pioneer all these really helpful technologies, and I'm learning a lot from him with AI stuff. And then he's also been a great leader in aquadac too. So that was just something I was thinking about in past weeks. I saw Joe got like a 2 or something. Like, oh, I think that Joe deserves more. So that's why I voted for Joe. I really appreciate what he's doing.
I appreciate it. Latent vote, huh? Awesome.
Great reaction.
Okay, and I suppose it looks like I convinced Eric and Perry, so now Joe has consensus.
Thanks, Dan. I'm definitely voting for you next time.
Okay, well, thanks, Joe. Maybe you are. It doesn't have to be. It
I
doesn't have
know.
to be pro quo, of course.
No quid pro quo.
Yeah.
I know. I'm just teasing.
Okay, I'm voting for Dan this time, and I'm sticking to it.
Okay. And so far, there's been 1 person who hasn't voted yet. Joe, you haven't voted yet.
That would be me. Okay, here I go.
Okay. Here it goes.
All right.
Yeah, gotta stick to his word.
Go.
What was that, Perry?
He's got to stick to his word.
Okay. Okay, so now I have 2 votes from Joe and Perry. Eric voted for Perry, and I voted for Eric. I could switch. I appreciate Joe and Perry voting for me, but also I really appreciate what Eric is doing. I think that this open mic night event is cool, and then the fractal stuff going on in San Diego is cool. So I could go either way. Does anybody want to advocate either way for who they voted for? I know Eric voted for Perry too, so I also really appreciate what Perry's doing.
I'm retracting my vote. I'm going with Eric. Eric has been doing so much. I mean, how do we not recognize that? So yeah, mine is for Eric. I just
Okay.
switched the vote. I just
Right. I'm just going for myself for consensus.
Okay, there we go. We got Eric at level 5.
Oh God. Okay.
Okay,
Oh Lord.
and now level 4.
Okay. I want to advocate not voting for me at this particular moment. So
Wait, is that a quid pro quo? Just kidding.
no, he never voted
Not
for
vote
me.
for
Well,
me.
that would be the opposite.
That's a quid pro nine.
Quid pro no.
Quid pro no.
Quid pro no quo. Okay, good. We got consensus. I love it.
Okay, we got consensus, and now we have to get consensus for the delegate. Is anybody interested in being a delegate? I'm also going to open up the delegate spreadsheet too to figure out who is a delegate.
At some point, you're going to resolve the msig issue. Is that right?
Yeah. My apologies for taking a while with this. So we tried several times. Like I sent some pretty detailed messages to Vlad, but the issue is that we haven't been able to get Chuck or Felix to sign it yet. And the time delay, it's not working, or at least we haven't been able to figure out how it works. So I have it on my to-do list to try reaching out to Chuck and Felix, because Vlad already reached out to Felix but didn't receive a response. So I'm going to reach out to them, and then I'm also going to share a message in the Antelope developers chat to ask how Vlad can write the script that would enable us to authenticate via the time delay that we programmed in there. But it's easy to do the time delay when you do it in blocks.io, but Vlad hasn't been able to figure out how to do the time delay when you write the script. So those are my 2 next steps, but I've been so busy with the all the optimism stuff and everything else going on that I haven't had a chance to do it this week yet. So I will try to do that as soon as possible. And my apologies for not
Yeah,
taking it yet.
I'm not pushing for it. I'm just curious. Yeah. The more I would agree that the most important thing is figuring out how to go to the next level of funding. So yeah, I understand the priorities for
Yeah.
sure.
Thanks, Perry. And yeah, I'll try to get it. I'll try to improve it, or try to get that done as soon as possible, though. So, but yeah,
Just curious.
cool. Well, thanks for asking. A good opportunity to share an update too, as I hadn't done it in a while.
Well, is anybody interested in the delegate? Well, oh wait, I got last place. I got to take it. Yeah, that's it. That's the
Okay.
custom. That's the custom. If no one else takes it, then the bottom guy. It's the consolation prize.
Okay, well, that works. I'd be happy to support Perry. If Eric or Joe are interested, I'd be interested in hearing their thoughts too. I know Eric was elected last
Yeah.
week, and Perry was elected
I'm
4 weeks
good.
ago. So Perry's term is expired this week. Was it Eric?
I'm good. Let's go with Perry.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, I'm just sending a message to the other room to see if they're ready to go back, because I think they should probably be ready. And I will also. Oh, I didn't put the poll out actually yet. So yeah, my apologies. I got a bit confused with where the fractal grant was. So now I'll put the poll so you can formally vote for Perry. And then I'll put out the consensus result where everybody can submit it on chain. Poll is now up. Hey playing some drums, Eric? You getting ready for the open mic?
Yeah. I've actually already got it open over here on the other screen. So I've been testing it.
You have what open? The open mic night or the drums?
The open mic night.
Okay. Cool.
But yeah, getting ready.
Sounds great. And then I saw you also put a message in the eyeke chat too, or the eyeke community chat, that you're planning to do a similar kind of event each week on Wednesday at 18 UTC for the following like several weeks, for following month or two.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Exciting.
During the it's just during the interplanetary unconference.
Nice. I just put out the link. I put it already in the Telegram group, in the Fractogram group, but then I also just added Eden Frac test to the
unable
bot
to
as well.
unable to sign transaction.
Same error.
Unable to sign transaction. I don't know.
Seal.
I typed in Eden Frac test wrong. Maybe. Are you trying to do it with Eden Frac test or?
Mine flashed up something with about an account.
I just did what you submitted. Went in there.
Oh well. Are you trying to do it with? Is there anything in level 2?
No,
No.
nothing in level 2.
Okay, try putting Eden Frac test in level 2. I just shared it.
All one word. All one word.
Yeah, you can see in the Zoom chat, it's all one word, and I also just shared a link to it too. So if you click the link or just copy and paste that word, then it should work.
Successful.
Success.
There it is. Okay, excellent. Yeah. One thing that if you, I don't know when the next time Vlad's going to take, or not Vlad, yeah. No, it's Tadas that's doing this one? This web app, Fractal Front, edenfracfront.web.app.
That is Vlad.
That is Vlad. Yeah. After I confirm it, the confirmation dialog box that sits on top of the actual voting form, it has one button, and I think it says "Yeah, baby." It continues to say that, and so if you click that button again, it votes again. So that thing needs to go away, but minor issue.
Hey, where do you put the Eden Frac test? In the level 2 or up where the 1 is?
In the level 2. I'm not sure what one you're referring to.
It's the one that's right below Grandpa.
Oh yeah, one. That one is for group number, so keep that as 1. And then for level 2, put in Eden Frac.
Mine still doesn't like it.
Really?
Eden Frac test, Grandpa.
Yeah, you could just try clicking the link that I share in the Zoom chat too, because that should automatically fill Eden Frac test.
That's what I clicked on. It's up, and I see Eden Frac test in there.
Maybe you're having a different issue, like not enough resources or something like that.
Doesn't say that. Usually it says that, if that's a problem.
If you want, you can change it Eden Frac test to Eden Fractal 1 or something like that. Also make sure you didn't change anything else. But yeah, if you want to change it to Eden Fractal 1 or Eden Fractal 2, that should work just as well as Eden Frac test.
Unspecified unknown key. EOSIO chain name Eden.fractal.
Okay. I'm not sure what error that is.
You may be on the wrong chain in your wallet. So make sure that you're on EOS and not Wax
Yeah,
or
good point.
Fellows or something.
Well, when I signed in, it's, again, signed in on EOS.
Okay.
Westridge.gm is the sign. So
Okay, well, I suppose I know the other room is ready to go back to the community room, so maybe we'll head back there, and then Eric, maybe you can figure that out as we're going. Or is there anything else we can help with? Is that cool with you, Eric? Is that cool with you, everybody?
yeah,
Cool
I
with
doubt
me.
it, but okay.
What was it you said, Eric?
I doubt I'll figure it out, but okay.
Okay, well, yeah, I mean, if you could, or maybe we can ask Tadas about it if he knows, or maybe, we might just have more brain power there if we try to figure it there. Or in the worst case scenario, I know I submitted it. I think Perry and Joe were able to submit it. So if 3 out of 4 of us submit it and we have it on video, then that's good enough.
All right.
Okay, cool. Well, I'll close the breakout rooms then. And as always, thanks again, everybody, so much. Really appreciate it and had fun this time.
All right. Well, we made it back.
Yes, I was just muted, but I suppose Perry and Joe are out there in hyperspace still, traveling across the metaverse. Welcome back to the community room, everybody. Hope you enjoyed your breakout rooms and spec game. Good to see you. As always, if anyone has any thoughts you want to share here, feel free, or we can jump right into the agenda. Stuff on the agenda. We have a lot of exciting topics to discuss, so we can get right into that. I know Eric had some difficulties with the submission, but I think that we have that resolved enough, and we can send that to Vlad. So if anything you really want to troubleshoot there, we can. But otherwise, I think we could just leave that be. And yeah, if anyone else has anything else in your mind, then feel free. But if not, then I can just jump straight into some of the topics on the agenda if y'all want. All right. I think I'll take that as a way to go and just jump right into the agenda. And we'll have a bit of extra time if we want today because we got back early. So yeah, once again, hope everybody had an awesome time in the breakout rooms. Now we're going to play a little game we like to call Cagendas. Ta-da! Ta-da! All right, so everybody knows here how it works, but basically Agenda is a social coordination game and helps communities create agendas and choose discussion topics and make decisions together. Everybody can make topics. Like last week, there was a bunch of topics from Lisa and Eric that were we had some really interesting discussions last week. Oh, also I forgot to mention it, but last week we haven't published the video yet, but we did come to consensus about, or the Fractal delegates did come to consensus about Lisa and Duane being recommended as planetary leaders on alien worlds. So I want to thank everybody for helping support Lisa and Duane. And we also had a great discussion that Eric inspired about the unconference, and that video will be coming soon. This week, I believe there's only one topic that's been proposed, and that was me. I proposed the topless game, and so I can dive into that. For anybody who's not familiar or anybody who forgot, we have a little bit about this topic game, both at the top of the Notion page and then also here at EdenCreators.com/topics, where we discussed how this works back before we called it the topics game to simplify it. So if anybody wanted, you can check out show notes and videos to learn out a lot of the details. But everybody here knows about that, so I'll just be pretty quick and just get straight to the topics that I put on the agenda. And of course, feel free if anybody wants to add to these topics. You can post on Consortium or you can post it here. Most people here have edit access, so you can do so. There was maybe a bit of confusion. One maybe update that I'll share here real quick about how this database works is that when you go into the filter, something that I recently did was I added another rule so that anything that is created after 1 week ago automatically goes into this database. So and then also there's a tag system too. So if it's an older topic that was created after 1 week, but we still want to discuss it, then I tag it with 72. Or if it's the 73rd meeting, I tag it with 73 and so forth. And then if it is created within the past week, then also goes here automatically too. So that way, there's previously a bit of issues where if you create a topic, it may not show up. But now if you create a topic, then it'll show up for at least a week. And then you can always tag it if you want to have it shared in a future week. Like if you want to discuss it this weekend, next week, then you could do that. And then just add the tag easily by going into here and then selecting it, or if you want to type in 74 or whatever the meeting may be. Lastly, just as one other thing, there's a pinned option here too if you did want to pin any. So feel free if anyone wants to experiment with these things. And of course, there's more details about how this agenda and topics game works in this top one about agenda and topics overview, where you can learn more in these meetings where I shared before. But as a high-level overview, of course, feel free if anybody wants to just jump in or share some thoughts, but I'll just go through and maybe take a few minutes just to introduce some of these topics. So the first topic that I want to introduce is the first Optimism Fractal event. So I mentioned before that we're doing this, and I believe we will be doing the first Optimism Fractal event on Friday at 15 UTC. So I'll share an initial message to confirm this in the Eden Fractal chat, but I'm pretty sure that will be the time. So I encourage everybody to join, and I'd like to discuss this a bit and also share the article that I've been working on to curate what we've been doing with the Optimism Fractal and also the Twitter account. Huge thanks to Tadas and Vlad and Rosmari for helping out with this, as well as everybody who's been participating and helping out with Eden Fractal meetings and in general helping people cooperate with these processes. So we can go into more details about that. Also, another thing that we could do during this meeting that could be really exciting is I believe that Tadas got the fractogram configured along with the smart contracts on the Optimism Fractal tools, and we could use these same tools for Eden Fractal too, which will open up a lot of exciting possibilities, so that we can use all these tools that are built on Optimism, that are built using the EVM. There's like some really, really helpful tools. I have some of them curated here at EVM coordination tools. Like there's a couple called HATS protocol, which allows people to assign roles and permissions based upon the respect that they earn or different things that can be decided by like the council, for example. There's a website called Charmverse, which is an app that's like a Web3 version of Notion. That's really exciting. I showed you all a bit before. There's a bunch of other tools I started curating here too. So once we're able to use those tools, then well, we can discuss it how we want to use it, but in my opinion, I think we could use these alongside the EOS tools, and that could be really helpful. But that's also kind of getting ahead. And for one thing, we could just start by testing these OP fractal tools. They still really haven't been tested so far. And one thing I should add here too is that Vlad also worked with Lenar and completed the first version of the Optimism Fractal web app. I believe it's at optimismfractal.webapp or web.app. I'll add the link here in a little bit. We still have to work on the imagery and stuff like that because it's still using the Alien Worlds logo and stuff. But as far as I understand, it all works. So we could test out the smart contracts and fractogram and the web app for the OP stack fractal tools. And we could do that today, or we could discuss it if Tadas wants to introduce or take in any direction. Another notice I want to put out to everybody is that retro PGF applications are closing on October 23rd. So this is in like 5 days from now. As we mentioned previously, I'm working with Tadas and Rosmari and Vlad on putting together a proposal for what we're doing actually is we're making a proposal for a new brand called Optimistics that's launching Optimism Fractal. So I'll share more details of that soon. But if anybody wants to check out all these resources here to learn more about retro PGF, I highly encourage you to do so. There's only 5 days left, and after that you can apply. And there's 30 million OP going to fund public goods creators who are helping optimism in some ways. So if you can think of anything you've done that is helpful for optimism and then apply for that, then you could earn this. Basically, the way it works is there's like 140 badge holders or so who basically vote on how to distribute that 30 million OP, and that 30 million OP is currently worth like $40 million like that. I don't know why Tadas is laughing. Feel free to let me know if you think, okay. I guess maybe some message was sent there or something. Good to see that Tadas having a good time. So yeah, you can check out that. There's also some cool videos too. Like for example, Griff Green, he created this retro PGF account along with General Magic, and you can learn a lot about retro PGF with these like cool short videos and all sorts of cool stuff that we also covered in previous meetings. But yeah, I just wanted to bring it up again. There's podcasts and everything like that. I was actually just communicating with the host of this podcast, the Retro PGF podcast, so I can discuss a little bit about that if you would like. But yeah, I just want to put that out and encourage everybody, if you are interested, feel free to ask questions. I've been doing a lot of research here, so happy to answer questions about how you might be able to apply. And we're also we're trying to figure out a way that the Optimism Fractal can help fund people with the Retro PGF, but we're still not sure if or how it can be done with all the legal stuff and stuff. So, but I just want to put this out there as like, we're going to try with that, with the Optimism Fractal, but if anybody has anything that you're working on that you can make your own application for in addition, then I encourage you to check it out. Happy to discuss. And then another thing is to Optimism Season 5 opportunities. So there is a lot of notes up there that I should probably remove. But yeah, there's a lot of opportunities going on in Optimism. I encourage you to learn about it. I'm thinking about applying to be a member of the Grants Council, which it's a position where you can like do stuff that's helpful for the Optimism ecosystem, and there are usually rewards for a lot of these things too, including being a delegate. So we can go into more about that. I could share some of what I've learned about this if you all like. And then also Pomelo Season 7 is open. It closes tomorrow. I did want to provide a little bit of update. I have not yet had the time to do donations for last Pomelo season during Eden Fractal Week 55 and 56, we held public goods pitch sessions where we used the new Signals app, and we people gave pitch sessions for a few minutes each to share what they did to create public goods. And I said that I'd give, I think, 50 EOS for each event and distributed to people who participated. And then we had some issues with the Signals app, so I couldn't do it last season, but I am definitely planning on doing it today. And if anybody wanted to share what they're doing to help create public goods or just share any other thoughts about that, then please feel free to do so. And you can also check out edencreators.com/pitches to watch our previous meetings and also read some notes about pitches to learn more about this game, to learn more about the Signals app. We've done this 4 times so far, so if anybody wanted to orient around the pitches, then feel free to do so. I suppose since I'm sharing this article with pitches, I should also just briefly show, I showed this in my breakout room, so I won't go into too much detail, but you can learn more about what we're doing at Optimism Fractal at edencreators.com/Optimism Fractal. I just put together this article, and it's kind of curating a lot of stuff we've been doing, including past, well, just like a high-level overview with some text about what we've been doing with Optimism Fractal, as well as some videos and show notes from past meetings where we've been discussing this. So just to go along with that announcement that Optimism Fractal, I think it's coming up, the first event on Friday. You can also check out this to learn more about exactly how Optimism Fractal will work, and encourage you to check it out and share and so forth. And we'll be following with like an actual event link pretty soon. I think I'm just about done with the topics here on the agenda. So I also want to, the open mic night, I want to mention this and give a shout out to Eric. Eric is hosting a open mic. He put this message yesterday, so he said tomorrow, but it is today. This will be happening at 18 UTC, which is in about 55 minutes from now. And if anybody wants to share their performance, share some music, share their thoughts, share some jokes, whatever you'd like to share, whatever talent you have. He writes music, art, poetry, comedy, commentary. Everybody can perform for up to 5 minutes at the mic, and then we can use Slido to vote. Eric is also planning to host these kinds of events or similar ones. He's also planning to host a Fractal event going along with the Interplanetary Unconference next week at the same time. And for the length of the Unconference, I participated and hosted the first one, or co-hosted the first one, first open mic night like 2 months ago, and that was super cool. We have the video that I think we're still planning, we still haven't released yet, but that video will be coming out soon, as well as the AI tutorial, AI video, music video tutorial that's based around Clear Joe shared as well. Shout out to Lisa as well for being in, for creating Lisa's Coffee Shop, and shout out to Duane for getting the land to host the open mic night on planet Eyeke. I see Eric just shared the Zoom link too, so thank you for sharing the Zoom link. And yeah, with that, I think that we'll wrap up the Eden Fractal. Sometimes we go past 18 UTC with the Eden Fractal, but I think we'll wrap it up before then, so that we have so that there's a clear ending, and that we'll move over to Eric's hosting of the open mic night after that. So if there are things you want to discuss, make sure that we discuss it before 18 UTC, which is about 53 minutes, or else I suppose you can share what you want to talk about at the open mic night. Like agendas will just be an hour today. And then, yeah, basically that's it. One other quick update is that Vlad is he's working on updated videos for the new Fractal app he's been building. Really exciting stuff, and I've been curating an article about this. We discuss that next week, and I think Vlad's interested in sharing his work with the new Fractal app once he has 2 more videos released, which he's planning to release in the coming days, I believe, or maybe coming weeks. So that's it for the topics that I have on the agenda. If anybody else has any other things you'd like to discuss, then feel free to let us know. I could create a Slido poll too, but I haven't done it yet. So if y'all would like, I can. But otherwise, I'll just leave it open, and we can just play it by ear, and people can share whatever's on their mind related to this topic. Happy to go into any of these topics, or if there's anything else in your mind that you'd like to discuss, then please feel free to share. All right. Anybody have any preference?
I'm curious, optimism, what you've been doing with optimism. That's interesting to me, for sure.
Cool. Sounds great. Thanks, Perry. If anyone wants to jump in and let us know what you would like, then feel free to let us know, of course. But otherwise, I suppose I'll maybe talk a little bit more about optimism. So that's also what is like what's on my mind the most too. Well, I suppose there's several different topics related to optimism that we could discuss. So there's the first Optimism Fractal event, which I mentioned previously, and I shared the link for. Maybe I'll share the link in the chat too, so everybody can read it there. I probably should do that. If you have any questions in particular, Perry, I'd be happy to answer or just provide a more detailed overview. But yeah, basically we're planning to do the first Optimism Fractal event on Friday at 15 UTC. It'll be an hour-long event. I'm thinking of hosting a special Eaton Town Hall, either right before that or right after that as well, where we can like provide a more introduction. It'll be kind of a soft launch because we still haven't like thoroughly tested the tools. So I'm planning to put out a message to the Optimism community in just like a couple places like their Discord and their governance forum. And then in the coming weeks, we're planning to promote it much more and start sharing our videos and start sharing all sorts of cool stuff. But for this week, we're going to keep it fairly small. If people from this community, Eaton Fractal community, or other people you know who are involved with fractal communities could join, then that would be much appreciated. It would be cool to have to show up in style and showing all the like amazingly talented people we have in Optimism Fractal, and then we can share the video later. We'll show right from the first event. We have people who are really excited about it. I was thinking during the Eden Town Hall, if we do that during the same time, we can kind of all like work together, and we can maybe share a little bit about how Eden Fractal, or rather fractals, can help optimism. And because this is a new community, Optimism, that is very aligned with fostering public goods and improving cooperation and governance and all this stuff, but they don't know about optimism at all. And we have a lot of wisdom here. So I'd appreciate if Perry and Eric and Lisa and Space Ranger Joe and of course Tadas and Rosmari, we've already spoken about this, but if you could all join the Optimism Fractal events, then I'd appreciate it, and would be very happy to hear from you there. And I hope that time works too. We've been trying to figure out the time, so feel free to let us know if there are times.
What time is it?
We're playing on 15 UTC on Friday, and this has just been like semi-confirmed like today. So and we're not totally sure, but 15 UTC on Friday is the time we're thinking right now.
So we do have the hackathon kicking off, if that's still on track, on Friday and Saturday.
Yeah, Dallas is showing up a half an hour earlier as well.
Okay, and what time is that?
They just changed Dallas from the EOS ship. Well, it's a little confusing because Dallas said he's coming Thursday, but they just published he's coming Friday at 7:30 Pacific, and then the hackathon presentations that aren't already on video take place Friday and Saturday morning if needed.
So do you know what time it will be on Friday?
8 o'clock. I'm shortly ago I messaged you the link to the schedule so you can see everything.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. So,
I mean, it gets updated constantly because people keep adding things, which is good, and moving them around, which is challenging. But whatever the case may be, we're keeping up with it.
okay, cool. And then so that you said 8 o'clock. I don't know if that was and so I'll check that link. And maybe that's best for me to just read that and let y'all know. But yeah, we have been thinking about like we've been going back and forth trying to just figure out a time, and we also want to keep it simple for the optimism community with like just a time that works, so we don't have to make it like have to discuss it too much with them, or the schedule is very detailed. So yeah, we're also thinking perhaps in the future we might switch to Monday too, and we're thinking maybe Monday at 17 UTC, which is, I know some people here participate in the AW fractal, so it's after that. Does anybody have any thoughts or comments about like just in general the optimism fractal and optimism that you'd like to learn more about, or
my
those times
question,
work well for people?
my first question always is why? Why optimism fractal? I'm not saying they're good things. There's a difference in saying I know it's good and being able to explain it. So first question any marketer always asks about anything is why? Why optimism fractal?
Good question. And of course, Tadas or Rosmari, you've been working on a lot, so feel free to jump in if you want, but I can go ahead and answer that. Well, that's one of the things we've been discussing. Like, there's a couple of different reasons why, a couple of different ways we can answer that. So one thing we've been discussing is
one way instead of a couple reasons why. What's one way that's just clear that says, here's why it exists. It exists for who to do what.
okay. So I think, and we're still working to like define this. So this is just my like what I think it should be. I think it should be that Optimism Fractal exists for optimists to grow optimism. So people in the
that's too big. That's like say we exist for Earthlings to find happiness.
Okay. Well, it's a little bit different.
Peace, love, happiness, goodness,
diversity. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Pursuit of happiness. Justice.
Yeah, who benefits when you grow optimism?
So good question, thank you. So it is more specific than just growing optimism in general, because optimism works in two ways. One, optimism is a general term that everybody knows and most people appreciate, like the value of optimism and seeing good things in the future. It could be very helpful in general. But then another thing is that specifically there is the Optimism Collective, and there's the Optimism blockchain. There's this community of people who are working with this aligned vision. Last month we talked about the optimistic vision, and they have this vision about how society could be improved, about how we can reward positive impact with profits, so that we can effectively fund public goods.
So it's basically for members of Optimism, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Okay. But also it's for people who are interested in optimism too. So it's not just existing members, it's people who in general might want to be interested in optimism at some point in the future as well.
Okay, but they would join Optimism, so they could come in from any way to do it. But there are already people that are already interested or part of the Optimism community, right?
Yeah, but also I think it's an excellent opportunity for people in the fractal communities too. So even if people like, I know we've discussed optimism over the past several weeks here, but like previous to that, I don't think you were really involved or maybe not aware of optimism. But I think it's an excellent opportunity for people who are involved with fractals as well, even if they don't know optimism, because it's a great place to grow fractals too.
That's a side issue. I think you'll attract people that are interested in fractals, but that's not what it's for. Because if you're interested in fractals, there's lots of places to go. They're all good. But the key thing is in support of optimism. So it's for the optimism community. It may attract people to the optimism community who already also like fractals, but I'm just trying to mirror back what I'm hearing you say. It's really for the optimism community to support their goals. It's an assist to help the optimism community support their goals, right?
Yep, that's pretty much right, I think. And I mean, we do also for sure want to help everybody achieve their goals in the communities that we've been working with for the past year and a half now, like Eden Fractal and so forth, because we'll be able to help optimism more when we can also help the existing communities of people who really understand fractals, because these people are people who can really help optimism. But yeah, for sure, we're focusing on
I'm looking at what Tadas wrote here. Good. It's saying build strong community and foster collaboration. Why do you need a fractal to do that? Can't they already do that? What are we doing better to help build community and collaboration? Sounds like they already have a system already built in. Why would they need an Optimism Fractal to do that?
Ooh. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Tadas.
Oh, wait, I want to hear Perry. No, just kidding.
Well, I want to hear Perry too first, but Tadas raised his hand, so how about we go Tadas then Perry?
I'm willing to give Perry.
Okay. I would say, first of all, that to answer the question of optimism, to me, I don't know, I can't say I know everything about it, but what I've learned here over the weeks is that they are truly valuing decentralization. So that's super important to me. If that is in fact the case, that they're one of their values, not just stated, but apparently what they're actually practicing is decentralization. And if that's the case, then I don't know, I'm not aware of a better step towards that value than a fractal. A fractal is, to me, the ultimate expression of decentralization that I'm aware of. So that's how I would answer those two questions. Was that a positive note?
Yeah, that was very positive. Thank you, Perry. Great point. I agree.
So you agree that that's the main thing, is to help the optimism community implement decentralization better?
I wouldn't necessarily as the main thing, because I think that decentralization is one value among many values, like also funding public goods and rewarding people for making a positive impact. Like I'm very aligned with their vision, and so I believe that.
We've mentioned three things. We've mentioned decentralization, we've mentioned collaboration, we've mentioned community. So what's the main thing here? Is it one of those three things? Is it something else? Is it all three of those? What is it?
Eric, the taskmaster.
Thanks, Eric. Also, Lisa.
I've stepped by people who paid lots of money for me just to ask these simple questions over and over. So.
No, yeah, they also pay for sadomasochism as well.
Hey, we've even done this to the Vatican. So.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Oh, come on, guys. That was just too. But I'm bummed.
True.
Okay.
Too easy. Too easy.
All right. Well, Tadas has had his hand up patiently, and also Rosmari has her hand up too. So how about we pass it to Das? I know Tadas had a hand up before, so I don't know if you want to respond to something previously, or you want to go ahead and answer Eric's question. You're both, but we'll pass it to Das, and you can play from there, and then Rosmari after that, and then we'll also come back to Lisa as some very interesting questions in the chat. We'll get back to after Tadas and Rosmari.
Yeah, I don't know. Now I got confused with different questions. So one question was, what do we offer that optimism does not already have? That will help build strong. Yeah, so basically, I think that we have something that can build a stronger community than the community that optimism already has.
I wouldn't sell it that way. I wouldn't sell it that way. I understand the point, but I wouldn't sell it that way.
Yeah, I understand. Just that's one thing. Yeah, so another thing is, this is a longer answer. I know we are looking for a mission statement, but the longer answer is that it works great with the existing funding mechanisms of optimism. They are, I mean, it's very much aligned with them, because we have a huge program called Retro PGF, which is about retroactive funding. Retroactive funding means funding projects which already made impact. And this is actually how Fractal works as well, because we are talking about contributions already made. So I think that Optimism Fractal has huge potential to help Retro PGF evaluating contributions of a community.
I'm hearing improved decentralization, collaboration, community, and funding. decision-making, funding, basically decision-making is what you were talking about, right?
Well, I don't know, it could be different things, decision making, and you could make decisions without funding.
Well, but you mentioned funding.
Yeah.
So what about funding? I'm just back and take one thing at a time here. You talk about funding. Well, what about funding?
Funding public goods. That's what a big part of crypto is seeking, effective ways to funding public goods. And that's what Retro PGF is seeking, doing, and that's what Fractal
But
are
does Fractal help that? What part of funding is it helping?
It's helping evaluation of contributions of work by the community.
Good points. And yeah, I agree. It'll make it a lot easier for retro PGF badge holders. As mentioned, there's like 140 badge holders or citizens who are currently trying to review. There's like 500 different proposals right now or applications rather, for the retro PGF. And in last season, I heard there was much less. There was like 200. And the badge holders, like, they have a lot of responsibility because they're distributing quite a lot of funding and they want to make sure that they do a good job. But Optimism has also been building these tools as they go too. So the tools are better, much better this season than they were previous seasons. But in previous seasons, they were like, this is so difficult to keep track of who to vote for or how do we allocate and so forth. And so I think to Tadas's point, which is a really important point because retroactive public goods funding is a really key and central part of Optimism Collective, by having people be able to join meetings, in addition to also bringing people together in collaboration and all this stuff like that, having respect scores created in this kind of legitimate and fun and credibly neutral kind of way during meetings where peers can rank each other's contributions to Optimism, can provide a really helpful signal for retro PGF badge holders.
But what I'm hearing is Optimism should endorse the Optimism Fractal because it can improve decentralization, collaboration, community building, and funding decision-making. That's what I'm hearing. So correct me where I didn't get it right.
Interesting.
Or did I get it right?
Well, it sounds pretty good. I know Tadas is thinking, and Rosmari's had her hands up too, so I don't know if we want to pass it to Rosmari or Tadas. You want to respond to that? I can also respond to, but I don't want to speak too much. I'm curious what Rosmari thinks, or Tadas, if you have other thoughts you want to add to that.
Yeah, I think it's not wrong what you said, Eric. That's, I guess, the most important, the key selling points, maybe.
Yeah, I think
I see.
Okay, cool. Yeah, sorry to jump in there. I got excited. I think it's not wrong. It might be improved, but there's definitely some very good key selling points there. I see, Rosmari, you lowered your hand. Do you still want to speak and share some of your thoughts?
No, not anymore.
Okay. Well, I look forward to hearing from you more when you're in.
Hey, by the way, this stuff is hard. It's easy to put out lots of information. Oh, it does this and that, and kitchen sink, and so that's easy. To get it simple is hard, and sometimes you work on it for years. You're always working on it to get, that stuff. But of those things, it sounds to me, I mean, which of those do you think are most important if you were to rank those in order? Collaboration, decentralization, collaboration, community building, funding, decision making. What would you rank as number one out of those?
I don't know. That's a tough question. They're all really good, I think. Also, Perry, are you trying to say something there?
Well, I just wanted to just let everybody know that I joke a lot, but what Eric is walking us through is a very valuable process. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm a joker sometimes, but this is I recognize this process. I was taught this kind of thing by my own father. It happened quite a few times over the dinner table.
Well, and another way to look at that is maybe they're all the same importance. I don't think they are, but let's say they're all the same importance. There's the issue, which one do they need the most help in right now? Let's say we had a wheel, a spoke, and it has, the quadrants. You've got a quadrant over here on decentralization and collaboration, community and funding, and you give everyone a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, let's say, you know, which one do they need more, or which one is easy to move them from a 2 to a 3?
I think it's either community building and for me, community building and collaboration is almost the same thing. What's really the difference?
Okay. Now, if they were to look at that, Will, what would they say is the most important?
I think it's either, well, I think the most obvious for them would be helping them make decisions regarding who to fund it, so the funding one.
It's a good point. What do you guys think?
Well, I see
What was that?
Yeah, I mean, as much as all these people want to be altruistic and all this stuff, it really does come down to that at the end of the day, right? Like, if there's no funding, then a lot of this stuff isn't getting done. So I think, you know, that has to be a major role in all this, right? Realistically.
Yeah, but this is a situation where we have the funds. We have a method of helping them solve the problem of like fairly evaluating a project.
Better funding decisions, I think, is what I'm hearing. And why do you want to do this funding decision? Because it's all the stuff Dan talked about. Make the world a better, all this kind of stuff.
Why there's like why we want to do this question and why optimism, why it makes sense for optimism. So
well, if you're going to support the optimism community, that's who you're selling it to. Yeah, you want to attract people doing fractal stuff too, fractal members, but it's really about why are you attracting fractal members? Well, to support optimism. So we're saying of all those things that we know we can do, if we're talking about moving something from a 1 to 2 or a 2 to 3 or 4 to 5, you know, that better. So we're not saying their funding is bad. What we're talking about is making optimism funding even better.
Good points, Eric and Tadas. If you want to shout to that, Tadas, if you're deep in thought, feel free. Also, Rosmari has her hand back up too, as well as Perry. So curious to hear what she thinks. Also want to welcome Gudasol too. Thanks for joining, Gudasol. Hope you're doing well. Great to see you.
And also, hopefully Gudasol will join us next Wednesday at an hour from now, you know, 11 a.m. Pacific, to talk about our fractals and his fractal and fractal palooza.
Sounds great.
Yeah, sure. Send me some info. I'm not aware of that, but yeah, give me some info on Telegram if you can, so I don't lose it. Actually, I lose everything on Telegram. That's ironic, but yeah, like I that's my first time hearing about it. But sure, I would love to get on and talk. And welcome, or thank you for the welcome, Dan, and hello everybody.
Sounds great. Thanks, Gudasol. Thanks, Eric. And yeah, also I want to come back to Lisa's question at some point soon. Lisa asked an interesting question, but first we'll pass it on to Rosmari, I suppose, and then Perry, and then maybe Tadas if you have any more thoughts about what Eric asked, then we can go there, or I can bring it back to Lisa's question after that. Rosmari?
Thanks.
You're welcome.
I think the most value, going to the question from Eric, what is the most important thing that optimism would look to receive from this offering of Optimism Fractal is hearing the most people they can possibly hear at once in one place on a weekly basis, all together, and most importantly, hear everyone's opinions, or have that forum where everyone is able to talk and express their opinions, their ideas, and contribute together. And also, on top of that, the process acts as a way to prove authenticity and people to get introduced to each other and also learn about each other's work and their contributions, and they could get ranked, and the results are all stored in the chain. And this is all recorded and distributed for everyone's use. So this encourages more and more public goods to be created. That's my answer.
So if I'm hearing you right, we're talking about even better funding decisions. And what you're talking about, Rosmari, is what does better mean? And one of the better things I heard you say is all voices heard.
Yes.
Anything else that makes it better? I thought I might have heard you say, and motivate more people.
Yes, it's all connected. But most importantly is a place where everyone is invited and everyone can share their contributions to optimism, and then be fun and be a game where everyone can rank each other's contributions and keep a score and possibly get rewarded for it. And that acts as a self-sufficient mechanism for people to keep on joining the meetings, keep on sharing what they're working on, and how they're helping grow optimism. And generally, I think the Optimism Collective is lacking this weekly events where everyone's invited, and everyone's invited in all of their events anyway, but I don't see events that are happening weekly, and especially for that reason, to see weekly contributions of optimism.
Yeah, how do they do it? How do they do it right now? I'm unfamiliar with that. I know how we do our stuff, but how does Optimism do it currently?
Optimism has a variety of meetings. I'm actually curating a calendar that I could probably share of meetings that are going on in the Optimism community. They have several in the Discord each week, and then they have a weekly or bi-weekly. Lately, it hasn't. It's kind of stopped like 3 weeks. Usually, there's a weekly or bi-weekly call, like a community call, that's on the gov.optimism.io forum, and they also have a citizens house call, which is once per month as well. All these are relatively short. They're all an hour long, and they're not like. And I agree with Rosmari. Like they're excellent. Like I've really learned and greatly enjoyed them, but they don't have the same structure. Like there's no way to like meet, and each person takes 3 minutes or so to take their turns. They're not playing like any specific game. It's kind of more like people give a presentation and most people are listening and so forth.
Okay, I'm going to repeat back what I've heard so far and just tell me what I missed, where I got it wrong. Even better funding decisions for optimism in 3 ways. One is getting more information by ensuring all voices are heard. So more information than they've ever had. 2 is more participation through motivation of people. And the third thing is better building and spreading the optimism culture through community building. So I don't know if I'm hearing you right, but that's what I heard.
Good points. Well, thanks for sharing the summary, Eric, and thanks, Rosmari, for sharing all the thoughts. And thanks, Joe, for the question as well. I know Perry still has hands up, and Perry shared a lot of interesting stuff regarding the philosophy of optimism from optimism.io/about. He's saying, well, there's more, but it talks about the philosophy, pledging to uphold the values of Ethereum by producing infrastructure that promotes the growth and sustainability of public goods, and lots more. Tadas also has hands up too. Lisa also, she asked a question about, is Optimism VC supported, and if so, which ones and how much do they hold? Do we know? And how do we know if they're really decentralized the technology? So I can go ahead and answer that soon, but also I'm curious what if Tadas and Perry want to respond first. And I can also share some more ideas too about why I think that this is a really helpful thing for optimism. Like from our experience, maybe I'll just add very quickly. I would love if there was like a fractal event that we could join and meet people and collaborate with. That's like a major lacking thing that I just think it'd be a huge thing. And I wrote quite a bit about this in the proposal we made to Optimism, as well as we made an addendum. I shared it in previous weeks, so I can share that. And I wrote a lot of my thoughts there where we can share more. I'd like to answer Lisa's question about the decentralization and so forth, but I think first, maybe while we're still on the topic, and Eric asked the questions about that, and Perry and Tadas have had their hands up for a while, so maybe I'll pass it on to Perry and Tadas first, and then we can run back to Lisa's question in a little bit.
Okay, thanks, Dan. Just real quick, I just want to throw in the pot, in the soup here, that if you go onto the Optimism website and you click on the About, they have these statements that I posted into the chat. And I would say that whatever the focus is, it should be as closely aligned to this as possible. And it seems like if you look at the last one, I kind of posted these in reverse order. For example, the bottom one is actually the top one on that page. And so the top one, most prominent, reads, "We pledge to uphold the values of Ethereum by producing infrastructure that promotes the growth and sustainability of public goods." So I think our group is focused on the growth and sustainability of public goods, the concept of fractals and the things are being built. So that's kind of a natural for us. What isn't as much of a natural is the Ethereum part of it. But am I mistaken in remembering that Tadas, you may be building some of this on EVM? Is that right?
Yes, Ethereum virtual machine, yes.
So, okay, well, I would just close by saying that talking about what we've been doing in our fractals in combination with that is the tightest track to their most prominent statement of philosophy. So I'll just throw that in the soup.
Better infrastructure is what I heard.
And I think that's what Tadas is building.
Yes. Yes, but I wanted to talk about another thing. So I realized that I think better funding decision making is not the main route, like our topmost value that we offer. Don't know how to phrase it succinctly, but basically what we do is we're tokenizing reputation here, and it has use cases beyond just making funding decisions. Like, for example, we're tokenizing reputation of projects and or DAOs, and that can help users decide if we want to interact with an app, for example, or if we want to join a DAO, or if we can trust a DAO or an app. So I think there is more general value in reputation than just funding decision making.
I just want to chime in and say I really like that phrase that you just said, the tokenization of reputation. It's much better than social credit score.
and it's not like tokenization. It's we build consensus on reputation. It's not just like implicit somewhere. Tokenization means that there is consensus on chain about how much reputation someone has, and I think that's extremely valuable. We just haven't even found all the use cases for that.
But you're kind of going from, which is great stuff, that's kind of moving from the why back down toward the what and the how. So at that point, you're back to kind of, well, here's a solution in search of a problem. Which problem do you want us to work on? So it's back to, yeah, why do we need tokenization of reputation? Or what's the problem with reputation? Isn't it good now? Why would they need anything like that?
Yeah, basically one example is what I just said regarding helping users to decide. So you have blockchain ecosystem is full of dApps, and it's full of scam dApps. So it's very useful. It can help here.
But it's better decision making by making it safer.
Yes, but decision making not only about who to fund, but who to trust.
Well, but are they making those decisions who to trust? That just sounds part of what they do. We do this and we need to trust people. So what are we doing? In other words, what decisions are we focusing on, or what engagements are we focusing on that they care about, that they view that they have a part of the problem is people have a problem. If you say, oh, we can do better, and they go, oh, yeah, we're already good. Thanks.
So
I have a quick question about how do they decide on their funding? Because like for us, like you could go back and kind of see the decisions we made on chain, right? And so you can see kind of a person's decisions. There's a history of it, right? But for theirs, I don't really know how it works right now. They're doing these funding rounds. Some group is choosing. I don't know how they vote. I don't know if it's recorded on chain. I assume it is somehow. But it's difficult to know what their system is. I mean, how to improve their system when I don't completely understand their system.
Well, as a high-level overview, well, they have several different systems. So we went over this in previous episodes a bit. If you go to optimism.io and then go to the docs and search for grants, I can pull up on the screen. They have several different systems for distributing grants. Some of them are forward-looking, and there's like, for example, the grants council we applied for previously, where there's a grants council of like 5 people, and they have a rubric that they're voting for, and then that grants council is making requests to what they call the token house for their funding each quarter. But the main source of funding, the largest source of funding, and the one that we're mostly focused on right now is Retro PGF, which is the Retro PGF is happening now, or it just starting, and the voting closes in about 5 days, and that's the one where they're distributing 30 million OP, which is much larger than the other grants in their ecosystem, and really all grants in Web3 as far as I'm aware. And that is specifically being chosen by they have a system where citizens or badge holders can be basically the citizens are the badge holders, and the citizens house are the people who are deciding. There's currently about 140 of them, and each round, we're in the 3rd round, they can each invite one of their friends or somebody who they know. There's a bit more details about it too, but basically it grows that way each round, so it stays with a relatively small amount of people who are trusted in the ecosystem, and then they're voting. And as far as I'm aware, I know they've been changing it. I think they're using a weighted average. So for example, each one of those 140 people can say, oh, well, I think 5% of the allocation should go to this project and 2% should go to that project, and so forth. And then they take a weighted average. In previous seasons, they did it with such a Google spreadsheet, as far as I'm aware, because they were just getting it started. And they're working on bringing more and more elements on chain. So I don't know exactly how it works here. I can share some links, and they do have the interface now where you can see all the projects and so forth too. And if you check out the Notion page that I shared about Retro PGF season, then I think you should be able to find it there. There's also retropgfhub.com, and if you go to optimism.io and then click on the Retro PGF link at the top, then you'll also find more details there. I can also provide more details. I know we have Eric hosting the open mic night coming up in about 14 minutes. I want to make sure we respect our time. We don't go too far over, or don't go over at all, really. So we will be wrapping up pretty soon. I know Perry still has his hands up. We still haven't answered Lisa's question, so I'd love to do that, and I could share my screen to do so. There's also been some interesting discussion between social credit scores and reputation systems and who controls the system and so forth in the chat. So thanks, Gudasol and Perry and Lisa, for sharing your thoughts there. I suppose first I'll pass over to Perry, since Perry's patiently has hands up. And then I would like to respond to Lisa's question, and also just share some other things I have, just a little like couple-minute screen share to just show some of these things that have been on my mind, and would hope answer Lisa's question, as well as provide a bit more detail here to questions that have been asked or discussion so far. So first I'll pass over to Perry, and then yeah, if anybody else has any other thoughts that you want to share before the end of the meeting, then please feel free to share. Please feel free to do so. Please feel free to raise your hand so we can know who's got more thoughts to share. Also,
Thanks,
Space
man.
Wrangler Joe is asking if Gudasol will do freestyle for the open mic. So yeah, if anybody wants to perform for the open mic, I encourage you to do so. But yeah, anyway, you're welcome, Perry, and go ahead.
Let's not get that confused with Eden. I'm reading Gudasol's last message. Let's not get that confused with Eden. Imagine a camera with facial. I'm just reading this right now because this is what I'm about to comment on. Yeah. I just want to highlight what Gudasol is pointing out, which is, to me, I agree. This is a super important factor for all of us that some of us are paying attention to, some of us not so much. But it's an important concept that any decentralized system, whether it be a monetary system or some kind of social credit system, it's super important who actually controls it. So you could say, oh, well, this is a decentralized system, this is a tokenized system, and therefore, by inference, it's decentralized. A very similar monetary system, two very similar monetary systems on the outside could be considered decentralized, or they may appear decentralized, but one may be very different than the other. One may be centralized and one may be decentralized. So if we're building or encouraging social credit systems or anything that resembles that, we have to make sure that first and foremost they are decentralized. Because to create a social credit system that is not decentralized is creating a monster. It's creating a tool of tyranny. And so I don't know exactly what Tadas is, all the plans are, or exactly how it works out. But if we were to use the example that's unfolding in Eden on EOS, which started from Eden, which started from more equal animals, which at its core is an attempt to decentralize governance, truly decentralize it, but yet over the last terms has centralized power, yet at the same time it has introduced a reputation system and a dispute resolution system intended to prosecute members. So the combination of those two trajectories, one being going from decentralization to centralization, and then the teeth of control via these reputation systems, those are not good combinations. So I just want to make sure that everybody's aware of those dynamics. Thanks.
Good points. Thank you, Perry. Yeah, it's really important how power is distributed and decentralization is really important as well. I just had an issue with my computer where my video froze and my audio froze up a little bit, so my apologies.
Can you repeat, please?
Oh, yeah, sure. I was just saying good points to Perry, and I agree. Like, the decentralization of power is really important, and also how that power is determined. I think that's something that fractals will really help with. I know Optimism also has been working on that a lot too. They have a really innovative system, a bicameral governance system with Token House and Citizens House. So great points. I can go into more details about that, but being that we have a short amount of time, I'll pass it on to Gudasol. I see Gudasol has hands up, and then I think maybe afterwards I'll share the presentation. Just quick, like, kind of final recap. Just like a minute, just for a couple minutes to share some additional thoughts after Gudasol. Gudasol, you're muted.
Thank you. Yeah, so I think it's really important to use the right words, and the way that Dan phrased it, like, this is a reputation system. That's like the original way that Dan Larimer put it, I do believe. I haven't read it in a while. Respect, but also reputation, tokenized reputation. It is sort of dangerous to start to mix this with other ideas. As Perry said, there can be a centralized aspect to any blockchain. You can just fork EOS and then put whatever you want on it. So it is important to both separate the idea of, not separate the idea of a person or a group of people from a government or a system of authority, right? So it's very dangerous when we start calling people names who are trying to expose systems of authority, and trying to construe that as this person is against a group of people for whatever reason. So the more knowledge that you have about certain systems, the more you can speak about these certain systems, and we get there together when we focus on what we want to see expand, and when we put our energy into getting behind the ideas that we want to grow and that we want to flourish, like these systems of respect and these systems of reputation, not the systems that authoritarian governments use to track their citizens through social recognition and then control issues of their lives, such as getting credit, such as their ability to travel, such as their ability to open businesses and things like that, based upon their pattern of everyday living. So as we start to diverge into these different worlds, into these different realities, it is important that we try not to point fingers at each other or to misconstrue what is a system of authority and what is people. I personally believe all people are good. I don't even believe murderers are bad people. I believe that at the core of all of us is a connection to the earth, to the sun, and to the galaxy. And the more that we allow that to fruit and go forward, the better we become as a species, and that we must be able to discern who is using words to try to twist that and to try to control others, and control ideas and things like that. So I don't want to get off on a huge tangent. I did just want to clarify, I do have information. I do have friends that worked on this system, or that worked with people that have worked on the system, who have seen the code, who have seen the systems, and the brief amount that I understand about it is really not something you want to play around with. So let's understand that not every system of authority is out for our best interest, but that doesn't mean that the people that are under that system of authority are bad, and that doesn't mean that attacking that system of authority or attempting to expose that system of authority means that the person attacking that system of authority has anything against any particular group of people. So that's just what I wanted to say, and I'm happy to freestyle anytime, as you probably know, and I would love to join the fractal thing next week as well. And thanks for letting me talk.
Sounds great. Thanks so much, Gudasol. I see Rosmari sharing a heart. Much love and appreciation. And also, yeah, thanks for sharing all the insights. Eric will be hosting the open mic night in 5 minutes as well. So we're going to wrap it up pretty soon, but I'll also just share a little presentation first. And yeah, I'd love to dive into some of those things deeper, Gudasol, and I'm looking forward to seeing you rap. I've seen you rap on your YouTube channel too. So I'm really enjoying some of your music videos coming out lately. So keep spreading the good vibes. Thanks all for the great meeting so far. I'm just going to go ahead and real quick to share my screen because Lisa asked a good question before and we never actually responded. And there's a couple other thoughts I'll share too that I said I could share my screen. So Lisa, before, she asked, is Optimism VC supported? And if so, which ones and how much do they hold? Do we know? And how do we know if they're really decentralized with technology? So I'll get to answering that in a moment. First, I'll just share like a little overview of Optimism, just for like a real quick places where you can find great information. So optimism.io, we did this a lot more in previous weeks. You can go ahead and watch the previous weeks if you want to see a much more detailed overview, but you can find a lot on optimism.io. I mentioned you can find grants here if you go to more, or if you go to the docs with the developers, and then you can find the grants, but that's all linked in the show notes, and our show notes are really well done, so you can see awesome show notes. And this page here shows an introduction to the Optimism Collective, which I think is a really, really helpful introduction to optimism. Just as like a high-level overview. We also have, as I mentioned, edencourage.com/optimism, where we have lots of different sections. We're still working on curating this and organizing a little better, but there's lots of information here where you can learn more about optimism, and I recommend it as a great resource. And the edencourage.com/optimism Fractal article also has a bunch of helpful resources, and each one of these have show notes too, so you can go into all these show notes and you can see all of our previous conversations with timestamps as well as detailed descriptions and so forth. Like, for example, here where we discussed the first time we discussed optimism at Eden Fractal meeting and much more. So these can be really helpful places to learn from. You can also search those if you want to just find a specific question. Joe had asked before what kind of events are currently going on in Optimism, and I have been working on this calendar. It's kind of early stages, but there is a calendar of events here that I can share in the chat. Maybe once it has proper links and stuff, but you can go in and click into these if you're interested in checking them out. I just joined the Citizens and Token House meeting yesterday. And I spoke there and introduced myself to the community and talked a little bit about Optimism Fractal and recommend people to join and check out these events. There's a bunch of really cool events there. And then to answer Lisa's question, well, first off, Perry shared a great link, which I actually hadn't seen this page before. So thanks so much, Perry, for finding that. Optimism.io/about, talking about upholding the values of Ethereum, producing infrastructure that promotes the growth and sustainability of public goods. I'm very aligned with that. I think it's super helpful. And this also kind of goes a little bit towards what Lisa was asking about the decentralization. So you can see milestones here related to decentralization. There's a lot of technical stuff that we won't go into full detail about. To answer your question succinctly, Lisa, about how decentralized is it and so forth, I'm just trying to find it again. So there is no Optimism VC, although there is Optimism Foundation, several different foundations and venture capitalists who have invested in Optimism. I see Tadas just responded to Lisa's question, how do we know if they're really decentralized with the technology? And there's been some discussion. Tadas wrote, OP Fractal can help with that by creating and researching to expose and solve these problems. Or by creating a community of researchers to expose and solve these problems. And he said he'd be against putting the whole fractal ecosystem on a single blockchain. That's how we achieve decentralization. Good point, with a multitude of partners. And then, yeah, there's a lot we can learn. I've been diving into the technology of Optimism, but Ethereum is quite decentralized in many ways. And then Optimism taps into the decentralization of Ethereum with like really innovative L2 technology that basically pins all the consensus from Optimism to Ethereum and vice versa. They have a bunch of really smart researchers who've been working on this for a long time. And there are details, like for example, there's one great site that you can check out, L2Beat. So Optimism itself is not fully decentralized right now. Nobody's claiming it is. This L2Beat website provides a lot of helpful resources to show the amount of decentralization that there is in all the different layer 2s. And you can check out Optimism here to see, like, they have 3 things, like they have like 5 stages. And right now there is a multi-sig owned by somebody in Optimism who has a lot of power. So it's not fully decentralized, but they're working on the technology to get it there. And I think that fractals can be really helpful in this pursuit of decentralization. And if you want to learn more, you can find out exactly what parts are like very well decentralized, what parts need more details and so forth. And from what I see, like they have a really good direction in becoming more decentralized, and using their technologies for L2, they can become quite decentralized in many ways, as well as helping with fractals too. So that's a high level overview. And then as far as the token distribution, I'm not totally sure what the token distribution is. I'd be curious to learn about that. And I know venture capitalists in the Optimism Foundation, I think A16Z invested something like $200 million in Optimism Foundation. So there are some venture capitalists involved, but I don't know exactly how it works. But there also is the Citizens House. They have the Token House, which is plutocratic, and the Citizens House, which is made up of citizens. So there's a balance to any VC or token holder power. And you can learn a lot more about this at app.optimism.io/superchain, where you can find more about what they're doing with the OP stack. This is also, to Das's point, this is decentralization with open source software. So even if there was a problem with the Optimism mainnet, the OP mainnet, then the open source software is used by many other chains, such as Base, which is Coinbase's blockchain, and many others. So people could always spin up different open source software as well. And there's lots of helpful resources on the Optimism Collective YouTube channel where you can learn more about these too. I was just listening to one of their co-founders, Carl Flisch, talking about their fault proofs, which is a way to make it more decentralized. But anyway, we're actually a minute over, and I don't want to delay too much and keep Eric waiting, but Eric is hosting the open mic night at the Interplanetary Unconference that Lisa's also been doing great work to organize. I see there's been some more messages here talking about, Rosmari also shared the Twitter account, so thank you for doing that. She said if you want to follow updates on Optimism Fractal on Twitter, you can check out twitter.com/Optimism Fractal, which I'll bring up here. And then also, once again, that site where you can learn more about our work with Optimism. You can check out edencareers.com/Optimism and edencareers.com/Optimism Fractal, where you can learn an overview of what we've been doing so far with Optimism, as well as all the recent videos that we've published. Lisa also asked a question about the VCs. Do we need to research it? So we do still need to do some research, but I think Lisa had to go to the event already, and we are a minute or so past top of the hour. So yeah, I encourage everybody to check out this website, edencareers.com/Optimism Fractal, and Twitter Optimism Fractal, and then I suppose we can wrap it up in the next minute or two, unless somebody has any thoughts that they want to share first, and head over to Eric's event. He shared this in t.me/Eden Fractal, so you can find the Zoom link there. I see Tadas said see you, so see you, Tadas. Thanks so much, and I'll stop my screen share now. Rosmari, see you all. Thanks for the great meeting. Thanks everybody so much for all the great thoughts. Really appreciate it. Really had fun. Happy if anyone wants to reach out and discuss more of this. Once again, Retro PGF applications close on Monday. If anyone wants to try to put a last minute application there, I'm happy to help out however we can. And Perry shared the link to Eric's meeting, so thank you very much, Perry. Does anybody have any last minute thoughts, or should we just wrap it up and say peace and love, and go Eden, and go optimism, and go world? And thank you, everybody.
Peace and love and rock and roll.
Peace and love.
Peace and
Love
love.
and rock and roll.
All right. Thanks very so much. And if anybody else has other thoughts, then feel free. But otherwise, thanks very so much. And we'll see you next week at Eden Fractal, same time. And Optimism Fractal coming up. We're going to try to do the first event on Friday. So I'll share more details with that soon. Peace and love.
Hope it's not. Oh God, I hope it's not 19, or I hope it's not 15 or 16, because that's the Eden on EOS work group meetings that they've got going.
Okay, interesting. Well, we're thinking about doing a 15 UGC, but also Lisa said that that they have another event going on 15 UGC. We're thinking about doing it on Monday as well. Would Monday work any better for you, by the way?
Yeah, that time you said on Monday, I think you said
17 UTC?
yeah, that works for me. That works for me. So
Okay.
just, if not, then I can I'll see if I can well, it'll be recorded, so I'll just work with that. And yeah, because I definitely want to be at your meeting. I want to be at that meeting. I want to participate in that. So I don't know how you do it, Dan, to be honest, with all the meetings. I really don't. I don't know how you do it. Energy wise and time wise, I don't know how you do it. So
well, lately you've been going to a lot more than me with all the Hedonio/upscale meetings. I've been fortunately been able to pull it back, but preparing for this has been like a crazy schedule though.
but
So,
I'm mostly observing. I'm just, you know, I am talking, but you're actually, seems like you're doing work behind the scenes for a lot of stuff, as well as attending the meetings and leading the meetings, and, you know, just having to prepare for each meeting is a lot. So I appreciate you.
yeah.
All right, I'm gonna go visit Eric, and I'll talk to you later, bro.
Thanks so much, Perry. Talk to you later. Really appreciate you too, and see you later.
See you. Bye.
All right.